Path of Exile is an ARPG built by the company Grinding Gear Games and is now 10 years old. The game still comes with an active community and was rated by more than 200,000 people on Steam, mostly with very positive reviews. But with competitors like Diablo 4 rising, is Path of Exile still up to the competition? Or is it getting too old? Do you think it's still worth playing Path of Exile in 2023? Goatfather here, and today it's time to go back to one of the most dark and gorish ARPG. So I've played Path of Exile in 2023, obviously, for a few hours, and I can tell you that when it comes to graphics, the game is still quite good, even for a 10-year-old game. I mean, I've played Diablo 4, which was just released a few weeks ago, and Path of Exile is almost the same quality as Diablo 4. And there's a difference of 10 years between both games. Then when it comes to gameplay, Path of Exile still has a really fluid combat system, it has a good UI and a lot of content. You have a huge area to explore, you have different enemies, different weapons, different classes, maps are randomly generated, you have dungeons and you have random encounters with empowered enemies. Sometimes you go into a dungeon and you might find a random enemy that is like empowered with fire and has different skills and is going to be way more tough to beat. So this is going to make the whole experience way better. So even if you replay the game for the second time or you revisit the map for the second time, both are going to feel like a completely different experience. Then for me, the best thing about Path of Exile is its insane build diversity. To begin with, you have the skill tree, which accordingly to this Reddit thread, it has 1,559 nodes. But guys, this is just the passive skill tree. So every node that you unlock is only going to affect your character's stats, and it's also going to add some effects. Now, skills, these come from your weapons and which gems you insert into your weapon sockets. So, for example, in order to cast fireballs at your enemies, you're going to need the gem that is linked with the skill fireball, and you're going to need to insert it into a weapon to be able to use that skill. But it doesn't end here, because even if you have a skill, then you can also add support gems, and those support gems are going to completely change the behavior of that skill. For example, with fireballs, maybe there's like a support gem that makes you shoot 2 fireballs instead of 1, or makes those fireballs rebound to different enemies. And guys, when it comes to build diversity, I've played a lot of RPGs and nothing gets even close to Path of Exile. It's simply the best that there is in this field. Then you also have different leagues like Diablo 4, you have the standard league, then you have the hardcore league, and you have a league that is linked with item scarcity. So that's like the most difficult of all of them, and if you die in one of the hardcore leagues, then you go back to the standard one. So these hardcore leagues offer an extra challenge for all those hardcore players out there. Then another thing that distinguishes Path of Exile from its competition is the currency, which doesn't exist in Path of Exile. Every item is traded by scrolls or gems, and that's another one of those things that make Path of Exile so unique. Then I can tell you that the game for a certain type of player might also have some downsides. Starting with the fact that the game has no mercy for beginners. I mean, I'm quite experienced when it comes to MMORPGs and ARPGs, and I've died after like 30 minutes of playing Path of Exile. Like, no mercy, I was dead, I was back to the standard league right there. And that kinda shows how tough the game might be for noobs. Then another thing that might not be very welcoming to new players is the build diversity. So the build diversity of Path of Exile can be a pro and a con. So if you're like a new player and you've never played an RPG, it might be quite overwhelming and might require you to do some research on which builds work or which builds don't work. Because the last thing you want to do is get to late game and find out that your build sucks and it's not gonna work in late game. So guys, by now we should have enough information to answer the question of the video. Is it still worth playing Path of Exile in 2023? Well, considering that the graphics are still up to date, even for a game that is 10 years old. considering that the gameplay is good, there's a lot of content, and when it comes to build diversity, there's nothing like Path of Exile, the answer is yes, it's still worth playing Path of Exile in 2023, and I'm going to give you an extra reason to play it right now. Path of Exile 2 is coming, there's already a gameplay trailer, and as always I'm going to keep you guys updated, so make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you in the metaverse!